conscience has been, sent down the drain, which was not much to begin with. That's why I'm a libertarian at heart. And again, I've never carried water for the Republicans or the Democrats. But some of the Republicans are better than the Democrats, and it's just a shame that these true colors are going to come out again, because you have to understand they're all self-interested. They're all interested in keeping their own office and their own power. That's the great fallacy behind believing that the state can solve problems, because the individuals within the state act in their own self-interest, just like businessmen do. There's a whole field of study on that called public choice economics, and the dynamic of whether they're going to stick their neck out and do a profile in courage like JFK wrote, it's very rare.
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely, exactly. So it's up to the people to make any real change, and
unfortunately they're not well educated enough to know really what to do. They leave it up to them, and they in turn exploit the fact that they don't, we don't force them or figure out a way to implement our intent with them.
Right.
And it's an unfortunate circuitous type of
It's a feedback loop.
It really is.
I know. And it's not getting any better. I mean, the only solution to me is not to make more government and hope you get the right people in office. The only thing that'll work is to reduce the government and
but that's not what's going to happen.
Let the private, let the private sector, the churches and the real NGOs that are not government connected, and civil society and voluntary groups work these problems out. But
you saw how that COVID bill is laid out, to lobbyists and to foreign states,
right,
for causes that are uniquely foreign. And this is so. How is any of that going to happen when effectively they own us?
Right. Yeah.
They behave like they do.
Yeah. Again, you're going to be called a conspiracy theorist, but who are the real powers?
Well, I'm an unabashed conspiracy theorist. I'm not ashamed of that at all. I mean, it's the major dynamic of human history. Now, that doesn't mean that it's silly. There are silly conspiracies. I mean, it's banded about like it's, everyday, transactional, but it isn't. And the significant reality here is that this was the end game of a conspiracy coup d'etat. That's what we just witnessed here. They couldn't get rid of him with impeachment. They couldn't get rid of him in any way or for any other reason. So they pulled off an electoral fraud. That's what we just watched.
But there's no widespread fraud.
And nobody wanted to look at it.
Right.
That's the definition of conspiracy.
Yeah.
Would you like more energy? A photon sound beam may be the solution you need. A photon sound beam uses electrical energy to ionize gases that generate ozone and light to enter your body.
This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind and he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now, you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle of gold against your soul, because I think I'm better than you. The boy said, my name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet, and you're going to regret, because I'm the best as ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, because hell's broke loose in Georgia, and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get...
Well, welcome back, and the devil did visit Georgia in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And he was playing around with that fiddle, I guess.
Yep, clearly. Damn good at it.
Yeah.
But, it was just the cities again.
Yeah, I know. If you look at an electoral map, it's blue where the cities are, Atlanta especially, but Columbus, Mason, and even Savannah.
Not unlike Nevada here.
Right, exactly.
Reno and Las Vegas.
Right.
Is our destiny, I think the only recourse here for all Americans who are in the aftermath of this entire post-election experience that we've been witnessing is secession. I don't think there's any other way around it. I think we have to find the states that endorse and welcome secessionists. I'm in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm in too, but it's not going to be easy to get that.
No, it will not be easy.
And
logistically or otherwise.
No.
But I mean, there is no other recourse.
So you would have the blue states all down the two coasts, and
well, I don't think it has to necessarily geographically fit. It could be Montana here and Idaho there, and
Northern California.
And yeah, that sort of thing, or by county,
rural Northern California,
which is what Oregon has done. Mm-hmm. Oregon has only one county, I believe, that is not sympathetic to seceding from the other states, the other counties, the confederation of counties in Oregon. So I don't see why it would necessarily. I mean, it wouldn't suit the globalists who are determined not to endorse that kind of an arrangement. Whether it's a borderless world, which they envision, or by county. I mean, basically, it would upset their apple cart. But this is what we need to do. And then how do we get this message out? How can we sponsor this? How can we, I mean, to his credit, Rush Limbaugh did.
He brought up the secession word.
Yeah. And then kind of retreated from it, or was very uncomfortable with it. I'm not uncomfortable with it at all. I think it's time. I think it can't be fixed. It's time right now.
Yeah. We will see what can be done. If the Democrats do take the Senate, and it looks like Perdue is going to lose because most of the absentee ballots are from Atlanta and these cities that are not counted yet. So
yeah, I don't see
he doesn't have much of a chance.
No, I don't see him pulling that out.
But what can happen in the Senate is probably not as bad as people think, although some bad things can happen. But I just, after watching AOC and the squad make fools of themselves the last week, bend over backwards to avoid voting against Nancy Pelosi.
Well, we see that.
Yes.
But I don't think that side of the aisle sees it.
The Democrat? You mean the people? Or
the constituents.
Yeah.
That favor them.
Well, not now. The Democrats rely on a lot of low-information voters. There are low-information Republicans, no doubt. But it seems like most of the Democrats are really low-information voters.
They need them to be low information.
Exactly.
Poor, poorly educated, on and on it goes. Yeah, they thrive it.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you can't understand, if you can't see through the fog and understand that something very, very wrong was happening behind the scenes in this country during this election, and for the last, I don't know how many years, I mean, the assassination of JFK, is that a good place to start? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really does it doesn't matter where you want to pick up the story. I mean, this is the culmination, I would say, of at least 50 years, if not more. It came to this over a fairly long period of time, but we're here now.
Yep.
And our only recourse, as I see it, is secession.
So we'll have to see what the Democrats actually do and try and fight every one of their proposals. But like you said, the secession movement could gain some ground here.
The damage that they will be able to accomplish in 2 years' time, without veto, is astronomical. And they're desperate to wield that power.
I don't see that they're desperate to. That's the thing. I don't see that the Democrats are corporatists. I don't see.
No, the reason I say that is because it could turn around on them in 2 years. So the damage that they want to accomplish has to be done in the next 2.
But I don't think they're going to do it. To be honest with you, I think that the Republicans completely misread them. And although it's true that because they have such a slim majority in the House that there will be more pressure, and Bernie Sanders may emerge with more power in the Senate, but I don't see them being that radical. They're just not that way.
Well,
and it's not just because of Joe Manchin. I don't think Joe Manchin has the courage to stand up to anybody.
Yeah, no, it's not just because of Joe Manchin.
I just don't think I think that they're misread when you think that they're all radicals. They're all interested in their own careers. We see that from the squad. They refuse to stick their necks out and vote against Pelosi for House Speaker, and then they turn around and blame Trump. What are they going to do when Trump is gone? Who are they going to blame now?
Well, I'll take the other side of that bet. I think their agenda items can easily be pushed through over the next 2 years, so that they don't have to go through this again. Yeah. That's the deal.
I don't think they're going to end the filibuster. I don't think they're going to make Puerto Rico and Washington D.C. a state. I do think that they're
coming after our firearms.
I don't think did I say the filibuster?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they are gonna try to come after.
They're coming after us for everything. They're going to take our money out of our pockets.
Well, they're gonna raise taxes.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Or
everything.
at least they're going to repeal the Trump tax cut.
And there's nothing like being impoverished.
Yeah.
To give them a sense of control.
Yeah.
That's what they really.
Well,
desire.
that's why I'm going to keep talking about the truth behind the income tax and trying to get some minds turned around. They have no proof of their contention that the income tax is an unapportioned direct tax created by the 16th Amendment. They cannot cite any Supreme Court cases to back that up. And the fact is that it's not true. But aside from that, gun control. They'll probably go over the white boys' guns. In other words, the assault rifles.
Yeah.
I mean, white people carry rifles and black people carry handguns, and they're going to come after that. And we're going to have a lot of cringe-worthy rhetoric like we've had in the last couple of days. We're going to have a lot of gender pronouns being banned from the Congress like they did.
It's just absolutely absurd.
I know, but that's it. That is absurd. I mean, sooner or later they're going to overreach with that kind of stuff. To
me, they already have. So their constituencies, wherever they are, don't have any objection to any of this stuff. Climate change, they're too stupid to know that there's no such thing as man-made climate change.
Right.
So they'll pull that off.
Or if there is climate change, there's no reason to destroy the economies in order to compensate for it. There are
a solution in search of a problem. That kind of thing.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep giving bad data, like, for example, that 60% of Americans file bankruptcy because of medical bills, and that's not true.
That's not true.
It's less than 5%, where medical bills are the main driver of bankruptcies. This was Elizabeth Warren that came up with that statistic, and she was funded by a far-left think tank, and all they did was look at bankruptcy cases where medical bills were a part of the debt, and then they concluded that medical bills were driving the bankruptcy.
Just as COVID was a part of a comorbidity,
Yes.
and so COVID was blamed.
Right.
Even though.
Oh, yeah, we have no idea what the real statistics are. We've been lied to by public health officials from day one. Supposedly, President Trump also was disingenuous, but Fauci was even more disingenuous.
But you see, Trump made that point during the week, this past week.
Yeah.
The COVID has been blamed for the deaths of many that didn't, in fact, kill those people.
Right. If you tested positive at any point 28 days before or something, and there's all kinds of ways to fudge the numbers, especially when hospitals get government money, more government, greatly 4 or 5 times they get the money for a COVID patient than they do for a regular patient. So the game is rigged. I mean,
it's a rigged game.
At Northern Nevada Family Dental, we are proud to announce a wide range of advanced dental services by way of the Photona.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
welcome back. Brendan Trainer along with Leland Faegre. And you have breaking news?
Yeah, there was the Capitol building was evacuated due to a suspected pipe bomb. Patriots have now stormed the Capitol building and are inside. What I'm seeing here on the Gateway Pundit is that Pence was rushed out of the Senate chambers as Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, and they've torn down the Capitol barriers that allowed them to get in there in the first place. There's a Democrat who says she is sheltering in place in her office as patriots enter the Capitol building. And there's video. Boy, I want to see that video.
Yeah.
But they have made their way inside the Capitol. Pence was evacuated. That kind of sets everything, a lot of the agenda items to the side for the day. But Capitol Police have ordered a lockdown of the Capitol House and Senate buildings and urge those outside to seek shelter. So that's where we are with that. So, other than that, nothing's going on in D.C.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking that that congressman got up to give the prayer from Missouri. I understand he's a theologian. He has a theologian's degree, you know. Mm-hmm. And he said he ended the prayer with amen and then a woman men afterwards. Amen and a woman. Yeah.
Well, he is licensed, and that's what gives him his stature.
Yes. But I'm wondering what else they're going to change. I mean, if you can't have men anymore, what are you going to say about menopause? You're going to have to call it womanopause?
I think a lot of that is just so logistically nightmarish that I don't know why they're going down this road. It's just ridiculous. Silly.
It's Frankfurt School. It's identity politics.
Yeah, exactly.
And California is now... said that they're going to adopt critical race theory in the school, all the schools, you know.
And you know, I was thinking of that kid down in Las Vegas we talked about last week on the show, and his last name was Clark, right? Just as the county.
William Clark.
And why he was the only one in that classroom, to object.
Yes.
I mean, every single child in that classroom should have been pulled out as a demonstration of support for William Clark. And that's the kind of thing we need to see more of across the country if we're going to make progress against this statism.
Right. We're going to have to, you know, it's all about individual choice, and if people don't start making those choices, and
they're not going to have any.
They're not going to have any more. They're going to lose the freedom to even make it.
Lose the choice. Yeah.
And then they're going to say, well, it's for the greater good. You know, that's
Always.
just it. Always for the greater good.
Yep.
So one good piece of news this week is that Julian Assange at least for now, will not be extradited to the U.S. Yeah. So the British judge, who happens to be a woman, said said that she would not extradite him for. She will not block the extradition for legal reasons.
Right.
Essentially, she agreed with the U.S. position that he was a criminal.
Right.
But she said that she stayed the extradition for humanitarian reasons. In other words, being in solitary confinement in an American prison is so much worse than being in solitary confinement in a British prison.
And you just wonder whether behind the scenes there was a wink-wink and a nod-nod between the intelligence communities and the court systems in Britain, just to,
right,
kind of wash their hands of the whole episode.
Well,
and where it's going to go from here, I mean.
Well, I think the U.S. has already appealed the decision.
Well, I'm sure that's a pro forma kind of a thing.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But, he's depressive. He has made suicidal comments to the psychiatrist, and he's... Then 2 days later, the judge turned around and contradicted herself and said that...
a woman has the right to change her mind.
Yes. That's
my own humor.
Yes. And she will not grant him bail, even though he is a nonviolent offender. And the original charges that caused this whole thing have been dismissed by Sweden. But she's not going to let him
So much for habeas corpus, huh?
Right.
God.
So Assange's lawyers are definitely appealing that. So
and he got an offer from Obrador.
Oh yes, the Mexican government said they would grant him asylum.
So
I had the weirdest dream a few weeks ago. I could have sworn it must have been a dream, because I could have sworn I saw Queen Elizabeth and Boris Johnson pardon Assange and grant him asylum. It looked so real, like it was really on TV.
The funny, we must have been part of the same dream, because I had a dream that I was talking to Margaret Thatcher. Honestly. There was some guy with him, and I don't know who it was. It wasn't her husband, but I have no recollection of the conversation, just that there was conversation with Margaret Thatcher.
Right.
I would have always enjoyed a conversation with Margaret Thatcher. So why 2 weeks ago? I don't have any.
But this was so real. I mean, the Queen. I could have almost reached out and touched the Queen. Or Boris. Well, I looked for it, and I haven't seen it again. So.
You know what it is, don't you?
It's
because we're hosts here on Talking Truth to Power.
We're getting visions.
How else can it be explained? I don't.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is what you get when you talk about having women judges. What difference does it make if they're going to continue to follow the same general rules that the male judges would have done? If slavery was still legal, I bet the Democrats would be proudly bringing forth all the transgender slave owners.
Oh, they'd find them. Yeah, they'd find one anyway. Well done.
Yeah, so, and then we had the Kamala Harris saga again.
Yeah, the plagiarist Kamala.
Yeah.
That Kamala.
Right. Fweedom. I bet you she has the T-shirts ready to go.
She's done that before. Yeah.
So let's see what else she's done. So first she cut a video this Christmas appearing with her Jewish husband to show how inclusive their family is because they celebrate Hanukkah. Then a few days later, she came out with a temporary video to honor Kwanza. She claims when she was a child, her family, which includes an Indian mother and her relatives in India, Jamaican father and his relatives in Jamaica, celebrated Kwanza before Kwanza was even invented.
Because she likes to identify with her black history.
Yeah.
Just because she has more pigment in her skin.
Right.
I mean, if they keep this up, this groveling, I'm going to turn off the news altogether.
Yeah.
I just can't tolerate this.
There are...
You got to be really stupid.
No black people celebrate Kwanza.
No.
I mean, most black people are Christian and they celebrate Christmas. There are probably as many black people that celebrate Kwanza as there are Hispanics that call themselves Latinx.
They have some great Kwanza music, though.
And Ron Karenga, that was what he was known as, and then he took an African name. He was an insane torturer. He tortured two women for hours because they wouldn't get naked in front of him. He beat them with batons, and he put electric probes into their face and mouth. Yeah. And then he was eventually declared insane. He only served 4 years in jail for that, and now he has a PhD from somewhere, and he's teaching in California University.
Where else?
Yeah.
They deserve each other.
Yeah.
But are you going to get to the MLK? Or we already talked about that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, Martin Luther King wrote a story about how a little black girl was at a demonstration, and a policeman gruffly asked her, "Why are you here, and what do you want?" And she said, "Fweedom."
But that could be apocryphal as well.
Yeah,
You
sure.
don't really know.
Yeah,
She passes it on as if it was her own unique experience, and her mother could have, it's just nothing. I'm tired of this groveling.
I know. But we can't organize ourselves because we're the oppressors. So
Right, that's
you
right.
can't have a Caucasian caucus in Congress. You can have a Latin caucus and a black caucus, but you can't have a Caucasian caucus. That would be
Because
wrong.
It's not okay to be white.
No.
You know who has come across as being mature and responsible over the past couple of weeks is Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes. So there's a lot of good lefties.
Yep.
I call them good lefties. They're thinking that she might even turn Republican.
Yeah. I don't think she's really got much choice the way the trend is
Democrats
going over there.
treated her.
Either that or she's going to stand out among them. I mean, either way, to her credit, I think this is really quite a remarkable
I was
trend for her.
a donor to Tulsi, and I listened in on some of the organized meetings, which weren't very organized. She didn't have that big of a campaign, unfortunately, but she did say that
She had more than
at
Kamala.
one point, more than Kamala Harris is right. She did say at one point that she was interested in running for the Senate, and so maybe she'll take on those horrible
Hawaiian
Democratic
socialists?
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
I would.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainima Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainimaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com. Let me tell you about America Matters with Eddie Floyd. It comes on every Monday at noon. Don't want you to miss it. That's America Matters with Eddie Floyd.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Well, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, and Brendan Trainer. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And, we have been talking about the virus, and, some people are complaining that the virus is not being distributed fast enough.
You mean the vaccine?
The vaccine, I mean.
Yeah.
The virus is being distributed fairly quickly.
I think it's doing fairly well on its own.
But, part of the problem is that these vaccines have to be kept in very low temperature conditions, and several batches have been spoiled trying to get out.
But wasn't one of them deliberate?
Yeah, some have been delivered, but...
No, deliberate, I said.
Oh, deliberate. I don't know. Deliberate?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, on the East Coast. Or there was an assumption that it may have been deliberate.
Okay. Now, we're also hearing reports that several seniors have died shortly after taking the virus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the vaccine.
Yeah,
I
knew what you meant.
Yeah. And there was one nurse who apparently refused to take it or had a reaction. And
I think there's been a panoply of of those professionals.
A lot of healthcare workers are reluctant to take it.
Right. They've probably had the condition already. So they have the antibodies, like myself, and we're not concerned about it anymore. So
right.
I can see that.
Right. So, just as a note, I mean, the Russian vaccine does not require these cold temperatures. And Sputnik 5, they call it, is being distributed. And the Russians helped get the Oxford vaccine, AstraZeneca. They helped get that out by contributing their vector, they call it, their viral vector to, they disclosed the science behind it to Oxford. And then Oxford was kind of reluctant to admit that they accepted Russian help.
Yeah, right. That was about a month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's much cheaper than Pfizer and Moderna. It's easier to distribute. So, we'll see. But Russia can't get no respect again. I mean, they can't, even when they're doing what everyone agrees is good, they still don't get any credit for it. So, but, and then Boris is going, and Boris Johnson, Angela Merkel, they are locking down the country again, despite all the massive protests that have gone on in London, Berlin, Munich, and other cities across Europe.
Lockdowns work very, very well.
Yeah,
so
we have all the data that shows that.
I can understand that.
Why is it so hard for government to admit that their policies don't work,
Because nothing succeeds like failure.
And because there's a lot of low information voters out there, and they don't understand the dynamics of how the government works and how their people in government are just as self-interested, even more so because there are fewer checks and balances on government than there are in the private sector. If you make a mistake in the market, you're going to get clobbered. You're going to perhaps lose your business or have to reorganize.
Well, they
but
don't
government,
know that.
They very rarely.
They don't realize that. They're public school educated.
I know.
Oh, look at the phones light up.
Well, one good thing about the virus is that I think more people are unattaching themselves from the public schools. We'll see if that's a permanent
That's been
thing.
a formidable trend, actually. I've seen some of those numbers. It's quite amazing, but it's not enough, and it's not in time.
Mm-hmm.
This should have happened many
Decades
years ago.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't probably be having this conversation.
Right. And so another good thing is that people are getting less attached to a physical workplace. More and more people are understanding that they can work from home, which is probably a good thing.
It's a very good thing.
Yeah. But aside from that, it's been a pretty miserable year because of all the failures of all of our institutions to properly address this problem without causing more damage than the original problem itself.
The cure being worse than the disease?
Yeah, I posted a video on Talking Truth to Power about 1969. Nobody wore a mask at Woodstock.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And there were 100,000 deaths from the Hong Kong flu, and nobody in Congress did anything about it. It wasn't assumed that the government is supposed to handle these things.
They're so much smarter than we are, though.
I know.
That's
it should all be left up to personal responsibility and your own sense of risk that what you are willing to risk doing, and it's not up to bureaucrats like Dr. Fauci, who have a long history of, being involved with big pharma and Bill Gates. He's practically in Bill Gates' pocket if he isn't completely in Bill Gates' pocket. So anyway, and then another thing that we saw this week, as we're talking about the week in the news, is the Iranians and Iraqis are mourning the 1-year anniversary of the assassination of Soleimani, and also the Iraqi military leader, Mustafa, I'm sorry, I don't have his name right here in front of me. And some more rockets hit the Green Zone, which is the center of Iraq, where, our enormous embassy is. Mm-hmm. And so Trump has been immediately blamed Iran, although, there's no evidence that Iran is directing these attacks. The Iraqis themselves want us out. They're not really in love with us being there. And so he's moving assets into the Gulf region, military assets. He's moving aircraft carriers and destroyers and getting planes on alert. So there's speculation that he will strike Iran before he leaves office in order to try and gum up the works, because one thing Biden has said is he wants to re-enter the JCPOA. And sometimes he says without preconditions. Now, some of his more neoconish advisors are saying that they want Iraq to bend the knee before we'll rejoin it, but he has been quoted as saying there would be no preconditions.
I think they just want to revert back to everything in the Obama years, everything.
Well, yeah, and I could go along with that, because I don't
Paris Accords, everything.
Yeah, the Paris Accords is another thing entirely. I mean, that I definitely applaud. There is no reason for America to be involved with this globalist scientific mess of an organization.
Because that is ground zero for globalism.
Right.
Everybody has to breathe, and so they use this emotionally, in their articulations of the necessity of addressing this problem, which isn't a problem. They're in search of a solution for a problem that doesn't exist.
Well, it could be a problem, but it's not not a crisis.
Yeah, but where is it?
We're not going to destroy the Earth in 12 years.
I mean, a decade ago, Al Gore said the polar ice caps would be gone.
Oh, yeah. They've made all kinds of predictions, and none of them have happened. The coral reefs are not being destroyed.
Because someone should tell them they're not following the science.
And they just keep insisting that they're following the science.
Yeah, they double up on the stupid, because their constituencies are public school educated. It all comes down to education. That's why we're having this conversation.
I know. Critical thinking, skepticism. It's there is a big dispute in Germany now, because they want to cut down an ancient German forest that supposedly was the center of the Grimm's fairy tales, the setting for Grimm's fairy tales. They want to cut that down and put up a wind farm, And
oh man!
So the cure once again, the cure is worse than the disease.
Yeah.
That's the problem we have with the state.
Clearly the case.
Yeah, especially centralized state. So maybe we should secede. Of course, we can't display the stars and bars anymore.
Now you're playing my song.
We can't show the stars and bars anymore. Not even NASDAQ.
By the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. I went to cash this morning. Everything.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So that's where that's how I look at this.
How do you know they won't outlaw cash?
Well, there is a design that would allow them to strip us of cash. Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, they would love to have digital money.
But I mean my investment class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm no longer invested in the corporate world. I have just stable cash portfolio at the moment. So.
Okay. But
I don't like the looks of this.
what if Peter Schiff is right and cash isn't going to be worth that much in a few months?
Well, it can't be worth any less than anything else. I mean, that's the basis of all transactional commerce. So, I mean, I don't see it being a dangerous move by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't have precious metals as an option in the 401k. So we didn't get to say Happy New Year to our listeners, but we'll do that now. And I would like to ask our listeners that if you see the United States of America out there, would you let us know where it is?
Thanks for listening.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephones.